has also decreased significantly in recent days. Some of styles. For now, this
next bit's kind of creepy, guys. This is not good.
To be progressing quite successfully so far.
Right now, you would have had a nuclear war and they would have taken out many countries because you know what? They're sick people. They're mentally ill, sick people. They're angry, they're crazy, they're sick.
After the series of decapitation strikes that occurred on the first day, the Americans and Israelis moved on to their next primary objective of the war, the degradation of Iran's offensive capabilities, particularly in the area of ballistic missiles. For now, this appears to be progressing quite successfully so far, as a large number of videos have been released showing the degradation of Iran's strike capabilities. According to reports, the number of ballistic missile attacks on US bases, Israel, and the Gulf states has also decreased significantly in recent days. Some observers have even spoken of a 1-to-1 ratio between ballistic missile launches and the subsequent destruction of the launch systems, which would be quite remarkable. To answer the question of whether and how something like this could even be possible, the answer is yes, and the key is artificial intelligence.
Remember when Anthropic said, yeah, no, bro, we're out? Did you really think somebody else wouldn't pick up that torch? Anyone born before 2000 will understand this next statement, but yeah, we just fucking took Skynet live.
Start with the raw numbers because they matter. In the first 24 hours of Operation Epic Fury, the US and Israel struck over 1,000 targets across Iran. By hour 72, that number had climbed past 1,700, and by the 100-hour mark, over 2,000 targets. To put that in perspective, the entire 2003 invasion of Iraq took weeks to accumulate comparable strike numbers. What we're seeing here is a compression of military tempo that was simply not possible before. So how was AI involved in the strikes? The answer lies in an AI weapons stack built around systems such as Maven, Palantir, and Claude. At the foundation is the Maven Smart System. This is a Pentagon-led AI defense platform built and maintained by...
If you guys aren't taking notes right now, you're part of the problem.
Defense technology company Palantir. You can think of it as an operating system for battlefield intelligence. It ingests massive streams of classified data, including satellite imagery, drone footage, radio intercepts, signals intelligence, and human intelligence reports, and fuses all of this information together in real time.
Essentially, you got some grunt with Google Lens sitting over satellite views of Iran. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. That's dumbing it down a lot, but just imagine the smartest guy on the planet doing that now with a whole fucking library of feeds. Yeah, they're doing this shit no notes.
System, acting as the central reasoning engine, sits Claude. Claude processes the fused data and helps analysts interpret it. Rather than simply storing information, it analyzes patterns, connects different data points, generates assessments, and produces recommendations that can support operational decisions. Then, on top of this stack...
How is that not a computer making decisions to kill people? Tell me. Pretzel that shit with pretzel words, please.
GenAI.mil, the Pentagon's secure AI platform. It allows systems like Claude to be used by commanders and analysts across both classified and unclassified military networks worldwide. Claude is particularly interesting here because it was used for 3 core functions: intelligence assessments, target identification, and the simulation of battle scenarios. Every second of the conflict, a torrent of classified data flows in: live satellite imagery, drone footage, radio intercepts, reports from the ground, trustworthy OSINT information.
See? What did I just fucking say?
Claude processes all of this simultaneously, not one stream after the other, but all at once in real time. From these assessments, it generates strike package.
You really think that Pete Kegsbreath has any type of guardrails on this shit at all? You think anybody's double checking this stuff? Huh? You think it's an accident that 100 hospitals have been bombed? Do you think it's an accident that the opening salvo included a fucking school? No, that's shock and awe, people. We do that shit on purpose.
Precise GPS coordinates, recommended munitions for...
And I know that's true because half of you fucks were laughing when it happened. Don't even lie. There's social media shit all over the world fucking proving that point. It feeds the trolls on our side, and it terrifies them. We are terrorists.
Target type, estimated collateral damage calculations, and legal pre-screening for compliance with the rules of engagement. All of this is produced automatically at machine speed and ranked by priority, allowing hundreds of targets to be managed at the same time.
Who's ranking those individually? If there isn't somebody doing it individually, that means that a machine is doing it. That means the machine is prioritizing a kill chain.
Before each strike sequence, Claude runs real-time what-if simulations, essentially wargaming the potential Iranian response. This allows commanders to sequence strikes in a way that preempts Iranian counter-moves rather than simply reacting to them. After each strike, Claude analyzes incoming post-strike data such as drone footage, infrared signatures, and SIGINT to determine whether the target was destroyed.
Now, with all those cameras that they just put up all across the United States with AI to monitor traffic stuff and, you know, to help ICE get all damned illegals out of the country. Every bank camera, shopping mall, fast food, ring, doorbell, Wi-Fi enabled, trail cam, cell phone, watch, microwave oven, TV, your fucking fridge has a camera in it. You think that the government won't flip the script and use this shit on us? The second we decide that we actually want to have the 2026 elections, whether or not Trump decides that he's going to cancel them because we're at war? You think people like me won't be fucking just disappeared? You think your AR-15's going to stop him? And don't get me wrong, I've got mine too. But do you think we're going to be able to do a fucking thing against this monster? We did this to ourselves. We voted this shit in. We didn't slap our neighbors hard enough when they started acting like fascists. We're Germany, people. This is a dry run. We're next.
Or missed. Surviving targets are immediately pushed back up the priority list. The result is a continuous operational loop. Strike, assess, reprioritize, strike again, running at a pace no human team could match. The use of Claude is also interesting because hours before the first missiles started flying, President Donald Trump announced that all federal agencies must immediately stop using Anthropic's Claude. He called Anthropic a, and I'm quoting directly, radical left AI company run by people who have no idea what the real world is all about.
These people are religious fanatics. Radical left. What is it? Is it religious fanatics that you hate, or is it the radical left that you hate? Because now you're just saying both sides of the ball are the problem. It's almost like anybody that is against you is the problem.
Claude was still used was apparently that it would take at least 3 months to replace its capabilities with an alternative platform. I would like to return to the Iranian Navy for a moment in relation to the ship that was sunk by a submarine.
Do you think Anthropic knew that already? Of course they fucking did. Anthropic played everybody. Or, you know, anybody that actually believed that they had a fucking soul to begin with. Trump is making decisions at this point that are very un-Trump-like. And his supporters are starting to split in some ways that are kind of weird, but I can't understand why they support us getting into another war like this with no upside.
Defense Secretary Hegseth made the following statement. He also commented on further successes against the Iranian Navy.
In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
You know this guy's back there beating off to pictures of this thing blowing up. What a fucking dick. He thinks this is a fucking comic book or some shit and he's Captain fucking America. We got a drunk leading the Department of Defense. When you're in a position of power, you don't run around barking like a rabid dog. You can command respect, or you can demand respect.
In fact, last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their navy not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more.
It seems that at sea, America's and Israel's dominance has also come to the forefront again, as Iran's navy appears to have been heavily degraded as well, much like its ballistic missile launchers, as numerous satellite images and additional videos suggest. In this case, for example, CENTCOM has published still images from the targeting of the IRIS Shahid Sayed Shirazi, or however this is spelled, a Soleimani-class corvette of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Navy off the coast of Bandar Abbas in the Strait of Hormuz. This here appears to be footage of a highly dense, concentrated mass bombardment inside the city of Tehran, which by the looks of it could very well have been conducted by an American B-52 bomber.
Why the fuck are we carpet bombing a metropolis? Huh? The fuck? There were 14 to 16 million people that lived in Tehran. People that were rioting against the Iranian government. People that we supposedly came there to save? From this terrible fucking leader they had? I'm gonna go ahead and say this might be worse. Just a little bit worse.
There have already been reports that these aircraft have now entered the battle. Their use is...
I'm gonna rewind that for you.
which by the looks of it could very well have been conducted by an American B-52 bomber. There have already been reports that these aircraft have now entered the battle. Their use is interesting in the sense that it likely indicates that the Americans and Israelis have established at least localized air superiority, allowing older and other non-stealth aircraft to operate more freely without the fear of being endangered by Iranian jets or air defense systems. Systems like the B-52 can also carry a very...
Why the fuck is this moron in the background laughing? I've seen multiple clips of this shot, and it's definitely the cameraman that's doing the laughing. What the... Dude, your shit's getting blown up. You think they're not going to hit you? Doesn't matter what side you're on. Also, there's a reason why I am filming it this way instead of just clipping this. This video is probably going to get taken down. The original one I'm filming by War Leaks here. I'm hoping I can get through this all before it is. His shit gets taken down a lot because YouTube is run by the same people that are doing this shit and they don't want anybody to know it. So I'm filming this. I hope you do this to my video and do the same thing and the same thing and the same thing again. But please keep this up in the corner. We need to support the shit out of this guy. I've been following him for years now, through the Ukraine war, Gaza, all of it. He posts both sides. If you want to know what's actually going on, as far as war is concerned, he has it. He also has one of the single best mapping setups that's free to use. That has highlights and everything on it that will show you everything you need to know about what's going on in any particular conflict. You can also subscribe to that and get premium features and whatnot, but do it.
Range and large quantity of payloads. Because of its enormous payload capacity, over 30 tons of ordnance, the B-52 is particularly suited for large-scale bombardment missions, as well as precision strikes against command centers' infrastructure and air defense systems. Of course, B-2 stealth bombers were also used to strike Iranian targets.
Why?
Even the B-52's younger brother, the B-1 Lancer, has reportedly been used by now, which means that the United States has made use of its entire strategic bomber fleet over Iran, along with many of the other
Now, let's be very clear here. There is no fucking possible way Iran could ever attack the United States. They couldn't before this happened, and they sure as shit can't right now. We've eliminated more of their government than they had to begin with, because they've replaced it and we eliminated it, they replaced that and we eliminated it. Even Trump doesn't know what's going on. I say that like that's different from usual. But even more so now. It's not dementia, it's just the speed of this war. It's compounded. What are we supposed to do if China gets frisky? You think we're going to have any fucking ammunition left? Preston Stewart, go follow him too. Yes, we are. There is a shortage. That's why we recalled shit from Ukraine that we were going to give them, because we knew this shit was coming.
it has already thrown into the battle. Especially during the first phase of the war, US forces launched a massive number of advanced precision munitions and cruise missiles against Iranian targets. The strikes focused primarily on Iran's command and control facilities, senior leadership, air defense systems, and radar sites.
How do we
For
protect the
example,
West
we
Coast
can
and the
see a swarm
Pacific
of
now?
American Tomahawk cruise missiles flying toward
Those are all our
Iran.
Tomahawks.
If you have nothing to do right now, you can replay this and try to count them, then write in the comments how many you saw. In times of AI, it's always good to have a sudden cognitive challenge, don't you think? It is estimated that by now the United States has launched hundreds of Tomahawk cruise missiles at targets inside Iran. At the moment, the prevailing view is that Tomahawk missiles can take up to 2 years to produce, meaning there is no quick way to replenish these stockpiles. Together with the heavy use of interceptor missiles from systems such as Patriot or THAAD, this has sparked some criticism within parts of the defense community. Some analysts argue that the current burn rate of expensive precision munitions and interceptor missiles could become problematic if the conflict drags on for an extended period of time.
It's so problematic that we had to beg Ukraine, after cutting them off from fucking Patriots and THAADs themselves and all the other ways that they use to protect Kyiv and Lviv and fucking all of the parts of Ukraine that still exist that are right in the middle of a war with Russia. We had to beg them to come over and show us how they shoot down these $50,000 Shahed drones. Because we're lobbing fucking $2 and $3 million Patriot missiles at each one of them. That's not sustainable at all. Fucking at all. Even burning through CIWS stuff. Like, those machines gotta be repaired, and there's only so many of them. What, are we gonna start pulling them off of ships? Putting them on rooftops? Because we're desperate? Then our ships are naked. Come on now. thank God the Ukrainians have soul and just want to fucking help people not die. They actually pulled some of their specialists out of their own fucking war and sent them to the Middle East to help Israel and America fight some of the backlash of this bullshit.
These depletion rates, so the argument goes, could create long-term vulnerabilities in a potential future conflict with China. However,
Boom.
I think that the previously mentioned unprecedented increase in strike effectiveness through AI could mean that the use of these high-precision systems may now be reduced. At least that is what Hexeth suggested.
We used more exquisite standoff munitions at the start, but no longer need to. Our stockpiles of those, as well as Patriots, remains extremely strong.
Then why did you say it was so low before and that America needs to build back its defense and that we're needing more missiles and that's why you are the fucking person that's here now, blah, 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 blah. Which is it, Keg's Breath? Did you get drunk and forget? Did you run out of people to beat on? You've been beating on your own head so much you got yourself a concussion? Like, what the fuck, dude? Pick one! Also, you're still gonna need those precision missiles for fucking China. You can say with AI you can use dumb shit, GBUs and whatnot, but that means you're gonna have to put fucking Americans up close to launch that stuff. The whole point of these tomahawks and standoff weapons is high precision is to do it from far away. And we just used them on a country that was down to like a few hundred fucking missile launchers after the last time we did this, only a few months ago. The fuck?
This assessment also correlates with the data showing a significant decline in the number of Iranian ballistic missile launchers since the beginning of the conflict. I am not saying that the risk mentioned in this criticism does not exist, but it also appears that the effectiveness factor of AI in the rapid degradation of Iran's strike capabilities has not been fully taken into account. So as long as Iran, in terms of ballistic missile launch capabilities, does not have any aces up its sleeve in the eastern parts of the country, I see a good chance that the plan of the current US administration could at least partially succeed, given the insanely high attrition rate we are currently observing. I mean, just as I was writing these lines, this thing here happened, or rather surfaced online. It is a video from Iranian state TV showing an Iranian ammunition depot going off in Bushehr. In general, there was a pretty huge influx of footage, especially during the first 3 days of the war. But for now, the same pattern can be observed as with the ballistic missile launches. The number of videos coming out of the region has decreased. This likely has something to do with internet blackouts in Iran and a tight OPSEC regime in Israel and the Gulf states, but we will get to that later. After briefly but comprehensively covering the US and Israeli strike campaign, I also need to report on Iran's response so that you can get a more complete picture of the event. So what did Iran's response look like? As already mentioned, it consisted of a flood of ballistic missiles and cheap one-way drones of the Shahed type. However, the bulk of the attacks did not target Israel, but rather another state that one would not necessarily have expected to come under such heavy Iranian retaliation. But which country this is, I will tell you in a moment, after briefly summarizing the presumed logic behind Iran's strikes. First of all, it must be said that the Iranian attacks were not as effective as many had feared. For that reason, I would classify a large number of these strikes simply as retaliatory attacks intended to spread terror. Nevertheless,
and this is the reason this whole thing is kind of horse shit. All we did was kick a hornet's nest that got a whole bunch of people killed all over the Middle East and ruined relations with a bunch of fucking countries. Why? I'm starting to think so. A certain person that's an ally of ours in the middle of the Middle East might have pictures of Trump and a goat. I'm just saying. Because their response didn't warrant what we fucking brought to the party.
the Iranian calculus appears to have followed at least a partially mathematical logic, with the hope of creating an attrition effect on the stockpiles of air defense systems used by Israel, the United States, and the other states that became targets of the missiles and drones.
What if they traded data from China or Russia for the ability to just at least hit a few things in China and Russia's benefit. Basically, what if China turned Iran into a proxy terror cell, kind of like Iran did with Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas? Do you think that's possible? Do you think that's in the realm of possibility, given that, you know, that's what we say the Iranians were doing with smaller terror networks like the ones I mentioned? Do you think now this could be all about draining us for them? This is how World War III started.
Iran has actively tried to degrade the early warning and detection capabilities of the United States, Israel, and their allies by deliberately targeting numerous military installations and radar sites. These attacks definitely occurred, and it appears that some of them were at least partially successful, based on battle damage assessment satellite imagery, but more on that later. The third apparent goal of the Iranian retaliation is to draw the whole region, and potentially the global economy, into chaos by targeting the energy infrastructure of neighboring Gulf countries.
We'll see as how crude oil went from right around 70-ish a barrel to 90 plus a barrel already. I think that's working.
The aim here appears to be driving up oil and energy prices, and thereby creating political pressure on the United States, both
Oh, and by the way, speaking of benefiting China and Russia, guess what the EU is doing? Begging Russia for oil again.
and on the domestic stage. For this purpose, it was not primarily Israel, but rather the Gulf states, most notably the United Arab Emirates and the city of Dubai, that became targets of Iranian attacks. This graphic shows the distribution of attacks across the different states. Even though the numbers may have changed slightly by now, the overall trend is clear. The Iranians hope to quickly overwhelm the Emiratis with missiles, who until now had never faced such a barrage before and are generally known to avoid direct confrontation. Iran therefore believed that the Emiratis, as well as the other Gulf states, would quickly buckle and put pressure on the Americans to call off the war. However, this of course did not happen. In fact, it must be said that the Gulf states, and particularly the United Arab Emirates, have so far handled the situation quite bravely and impressively. And I am not saying this because I have worked with one of their defense contractors in the past. In fact, this video is not sponsored, and this is my own honest opinion. The Emiratis have really kept a very cool head so far. This is shown, on the one hand, by the fact that they have so far taken no retaliatory measures against Iran, and that their response has primarily been limited to defensive actions. On the other hand, it is reflected in the extremely high interception rate of Iranian missiles and drones, which currently stands at least 90 to 95%, possibly even slightly higher in some cases. These are really impressive numbers, given the fact that this is the first time they have been under...
I'm going to go ahead and admit that this sounds like a verbal blowjob for the UAE from Homeboy, because he is sponsored by their major defense company. I forget what it's called right now. It's a very warlike sounding name. They're really into UAVs.
intense pressure. A huge shout out to the Emirat.
And yeah, their Air Force is well trained for what it is, but, you know, they're probably well trained like Kuwait's are well trained enough to shoot down our F-15s.
Pilots here who have been working non-stop to shoot down these missiles and drones. In this context, the UAE Ministry of Defense already released a video a few days ago showing the interception of Iranian missiles and drones. As of March 5, while I am recording this video, the UAE military reported...
Alright, this one's already 30 minutes long. If you guys are interested, I'll make a second half. I'm just speechless about how fast this shit got out of hand. So, anyways, bye.